everyone, it's Shades here. Time for another edition of Shades' Soapbox. We're gonna do something a little more geeky today because, quite frankly, I think after yesterday, I kind of need to calm myself down a little bit here. And honestly, this time I'm not even gonna be really raging. It's more of just kind of sharing my thoughts on something. And it's something that's very close to us here in the RVT community because, quite frankly, it's Toku related. More specifically, Toku toys. A lot of arguments I hear from a lot of old school Showa era fans is that modern day Toku in general is very toyetic. It's all about shilling the merchandise and they have to shove it down your throat. And to an extent, I do understand that. I do agree to some extent. Some shows have been really bad about shilling the toys and quite frankly pulling them out of their ass. So I can kind of understand where that argument comes from. But my argument to that is that even in the old days, Kamen Rider was known for a lot of merchandise. I mean, you had the bikes, you had the figures, you had the weapons and stuff like that. That kind of stuff's been around since the old days. Shotaro Ishinomori may not have been as toyetic as modern day Toei is, but don't mistake that. His shows were known for shilling shit too. But I won't lie that it has gotten a lot more prolific as of late, especially in the post-decade era with stuff like Double and the Gaia Memories, Oza's Medals, Forze Switches, and of course more recent stuff like the Lock Seeds, Gashats, and Full Bottle. Because I came in at that era, I have a better understanding of how it works, and a more of appreciation for good toy shilling. Bear in mind, my first series was Kamen Rider Double, and it was probably one of the better uses of the multi-toy gimmick line. It didn't constantly shove them down your throat. It started you with 6 memories, giving you 9 forms, and then added only 2 more, plus a couple other riders that had their own memories as well. It didn't constantly pound you over the head with new weapons for the heroes. And I think that really was a nice balance. And it's something that I think a lot of other series kind of need to learn to pick up on in later series. But, at least for now, there are a few series that I think have handled the constant shilling of toys well. To me, the way a good series can shill toys is how they integrate them into the story. I've never really said this out loud, though I've kind of hinted at this, but I kind of have a meter in my own head. What I like to call the DEM meter. DEM, of course, standing for Deus Ex Machina! The idea in my head is that every time a new form is introduced, a new power is introduced, I like to judge it based on how much of a Deus Ex Machina it actually is. Did they foreshadow it? Did they build it up? Did they hint at it? Or are they literally just pulling something right out of their ass? If they are, then yes, it's bullshit, and I'm more than happy to call it for the bullshit that it is. However, if they at least created a story about it and built it up, then I'm okay with it. More recent examples, so those who've been watching Toku, we've been introduced to the new form for Build. For us, it's the Rabbit, and Tang. I know there's a few forms coming up that I haven't seen yet, but I'm going with what I've seen so far. They built it up. They hinted that he was building a new form for the proxy fight, and even integrated it into the story by having the whole double agent thing, where what's-her-name, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, and forgive me, tells him that she's having to work with Namba Industries, and he's like, here's the plans for Rabbit. Don't tell them that's not everything. And hides the fact that he has a second form with it with Tank. That, to me, was not DEM. At least not a high level. I'd say probably on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably about a 3 on the DEM meter. It was there. There was some, they pulled a twist on you. But honestly, they hinted at him building a new form for the proxy fight, and even kind of teased that there was more to it than that. And I thought it was handled rather well. X-Aid is another great example. Almost every Gashat that was introduced, they showed being built. Every Gashat, including Kamen Rider Chronicle, they made this a huge plot point, introducing this Gashat, and I thought it was handled very well. And of course, it's later used for Chronos, even though this particular version doesn't have that. Every form had a purpose, and had a build-up to it. And other forms, like Mighty Brothers Double X, or how about Maximum Mighty X, or better yet, Hyper Muteki. These forms were built up, introduced, shown being produced by Dan Kuroto or Emu or whoever. And they really gave us a story with these Gashats. Which is why when they were finally introduced, aside from Muteki being really freaking ridiculous, but aside from that, it was handled rather well. I thought the story was good, and I thought it was well introduced, so I got invested in it. And I think that's something that Toei needs to learn. You want to shill toys and make money off the merchandise. I understand that completely. As I've been saying for a lot lately, I'm okay with you guys making money. If the show is good, we'll buy the merch. And I think that's what you need to focus on. That's what anyone who wants to make this kind of work needs to focus on. If you have to introduce a whole bunch of toyetic gimmicks in it, fine. But make it part of the story. Make it something that we will invest in. Not just financially, but emotionally. When I hold up these Gashats, I'm reminded of the amazing stories that Enmu Hojo went through in his battle to save lives. You know, when I get introduced, when I hold up this Gashat, I'm reminded of him introducing this, fighting off Dan Kuroto, and finally defeating the dangerous zombie by hacking the system. When I take a look at this, when I look at Muteki, I'm reminded of the battles with Kronos and how they had to overcome his pause ability. Oh, and even then, still having to struggle even after the fact. All of these different storylines. If you give us a story that we will remember, then it'll make us want to buy these toys that much more. It's the reason like series like Gain and Double and X-Aid are so successful, because they were a memorable series. We care more about the toys that way because it reminds us of the stories that came with them. Are they all perfect? No. In fact, I've complained a lot about how Build's been shoving new forms down our ass every episode, and a lot of them are Deus Ex Machina to the extreme. I'm not happy about that. Not every series is that bad. I think that if we could get more of that, more good stories, focus on good writing. You know, you've got some amazing writers back there. Quit shoving frickin' Yonemura and Shirakura down our throats, because they're the reason why your series is failing. But when you have such great writers like Riku Sanjo, utilize them. Because trust me when I say, these guys are making you money. Get Gen Urobuchi back. You know, get some good writing on your team. I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed with that idea. Bottom line, shilling toys is not the problem. It never has been, because that's always been a part of Kamen Rider. It's just become more prolific as of late. What matters is if you're gonna shill toys, if you're gonna shill all of these little plastic gadgets at us, make it worth it. Make it worth our time and our money, because I'm willing to spend if I'm interested in what the toy represents, and I guarantee you I'm not the only one. That's my feelings on it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you leave your comments down below. What do you think? What is your opinion on toyetic shilling in Kamen Rider and Sentai as well? What are some topics you'd like for me to discuss? Anything at all. It doesn't have to be Toku related, but you know, share what you think. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys for joining me as always. Shout out to my patron Solar Star for your continued support, and of course, Raktai, who actually helped buy this for me, as well as the rest of my crew, so they'll be getting these soon as enough. And we got more of that on the way. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for tuning in as always here on Shades' Soapbox. I'm the Shades, and we'll see you guys next time. Rock on!